everybody. Welcome to Variety Talk live from Las Vegas, and I am your host right here from Chicago, Illinois. And boy, we've been doing lots of shows from Chicago, right? Well, why not? Right here in the Windy City, my hometown, and as we begin to actually unveil some of our wonderful clients who are joining us right here in the city, it's a great place to be in March? It's still a little cold, but it's not bad at all. So I just want to thank all of the Variety Talk family who's been very supportive during this time while I've been away, namely and including Scotty and Danny. Thank you guys so very much for all of your help. And we want to say thank you to James Bradley, and definitely want to say thank you to Albert, and what would we do without Joe? So listen, everybody, sit back, relax, and happy Good Friday, even though, why do they call it Good Friday when it's really not such a happy day? We'll find out about that a little bit later. But in the meantime, I'd like to welcome all of my guests to the show this evening. And we've got someone, it's all about entertainment, song, and it's from actually different genres. So why not celebrate Good Friday with something, a little versatile? And that's what we'll be doing. So we're going to be inviting Mr. Z on with us this afternoon, and he's got a different flavor with music, and we can't wait to share some of his videos. So as a matter of fact, without further ado, let's get started, all right? I am your host, Lady Linda, and let's open up with this video. Scotty, hit it.
Mommy, when's Daddy coming home?
Daddy had to work late again. He'll be home in a little while, I promise.
That's what you always say. He always has to work late, and you always promise me that he'll play with me when he gets home. But he never does.
Just play with your toys, honey, and when Daddy gets home, well, you'll see. Tonight will be different. He's promised Mommy that he'll spend some time with you.
Okay, Mommy.
Why won't you let me out? All you need is to fall asleep.
Hands are cold, feeling anxious now, falling down, killing rationale, fading away.
You can keep me locked away forever. You are mine to
Tell
take.
my wife, forgive me. Will she say she loves me? Sleep this away, sleep this away. This time.
Mommy, is Daddy home yet?
No, not yet.
See, I told you he never has time to spend with me.
I will grant you peace. I will give you solace complete.
As I fight to hide all my pain inside, I'm not sure I can do this again. Will I be when my son goes home? Will I be the man he's always known? Maybe.
Close your eyes.
It's just one.
Close your eyes.
Now, honey, you know your daddy loves you very much.
It doesn't feel like that sometimes.
I know, sweetheart.
What's wrong with Daddy?
Daddy's just not feeling good again.
Is Daddy gonna be okay?
Yes, honey. Daddy will be fine.
Okay. Night, Mommy.
Good night, sweetheart. Pleasant dreams.
Want to see two of
Hi,
them?
everybody. We are back. You're watching Variety Talk live in Las Vegas. I am your host, Lady Linda. Welcome back to the show. And as promised, we're sitting in with a very successful and creative entrepreneur who has graced our show with his presence in such a short period of time. So I want to first of all congratulate you on your professionalism. And I mean, that was pretty awesome the way you were able to do that. So without further ado, everyone, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Cernal R. Shackelford, better known, Junior, better known as Z. What's up, Z? Welcome to the show.
Hello, world.
So how's it going?
It's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. You have better weather than we are having right now.
I know, huh? How about that? How about that? Well, you know, it's around 30-ish, 40-ish degrees here.
Oh, okay, well, we got 50s today, so we beat you.
Oh, no kidding. How did that happen? Oh, my
Figure,
goodness.
right.
All this time I'm thinking, oh, they're so warm over there on the West Coast, and everybody's a little chilly over there, huh?
Apparently.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, listen, I tell you, I wanted to make sure that we focus on you because Variety Talk is just that. We offer a variety and a flavor of different genres, and this is all about people helping people. It's a business networking show, and we want to make sure that we give exposure, the adequate exposure to business people like yourselves who are in the business of representing themselves as an entrepreneur in the music industry. And so a lot of people don't recognize that that is a business as well.
Yeah.
And and it takes many people think that once they see you hit the level that you achieve, that you just kind of turned on the water like a faucet and magically water came out. And there you go. And they have absolutely no idea of the blood, sweat, and tears that was put into actually achieving and earning the position for which you're in right now. So I just want to congratulate you on your video. And before we go any further, the audience had an opportunity to just see a little bit of it. Or actually, they viewed it in its entirety at the beginning of the show. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'd like to talk a bit about the video.
Okay, cool. My name is Cernal R. Shackelford Jr., like you said. Everybody calls me Z. Born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Live in Maryville, Indiana right now with my wife and children. I've been in music for as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, there was a cartoon on Sesame Street about a little lowercase n. And I think I was like 6 or 7 at the time. And this song made me cry when I heard it. This is about a little letter, but it made me cry. And from that point, I wanted to understand why that happened. And I've always kind of chased that. What was it about the music that made me want to cry? And from that moment on, I've always been into music. I taught myself how to play all the instruments, and I've never gone to school for this stuff. I'm sure if I'd have gone to school, I'd probably have a different understanding, but I kind of like the wildness of where I am with it. Like, there's no rigid, I don't care for the theory and all that stuff. I just want, what I like to hear is what I like to hear, and that's what I play.
That's pretty awesome. And
Thank you.
And I'll have to say, as an African American man, into the genre of heavy metal, rock, that's something that a lot of people will consider to be a little bit unusual because, and this is a horrible statement I'm making because I'm sounding, you understand what I mean? I'm categorizing you. but I'm also being very honest with what seems to be typical of the music that most African American people. The choice is usually blues or jazz or R&B or rap. And but hey, we've got somebody coming on that does opera. Okay, so there is no typical. There is no typical. But I will say that heavy metal and rock is something that's usually enjoyed by not many African American people. So how did you get into being able to? Did you develop a taste for that, or was it? I'm sorry.
That's a really good question, because where I grew up, I didn't grow up in the suburbs. I grew up in the hood.
Okay, you grew up in the hood where you heard rap music every single day. Okay.
The real hood, yeah. I didn't grow up in the make-believe, but I grew up in the real hood. So, and the only white people I was around really were teachers and police. But at my house where my mom was and my stepdad and all that, there was really no one music that everybody seemed to listen to, and I wasn't exposed to a lot of this stuff. But I just knew that, as much as I do like rap and like hip hop and blues and I like every style of music, period. If you look at my phone right now, I have music from Asia, from Saudi Arabia. I just love music. I love music. It doesn't matter to me.
That's awesome.
It doesn't matter who did it, black, white, I don't care about all that crap. Sorry. My birthday's on Halloween. And the first band that I ever saw that I connected with was Kiss. And because of the makeup and all the theatrics and all that stuff, I was like, "Whoa, that is really cool!" And I never really heard the music, but for me, they were superheroes. I was just a big dork. They were superheroes, and they played this cool stuff, and I was like, "I want to know what that is." And so we had a little mom and pop record shop that was down the street from the house, and I would go there every day. "You have the new Kiss album in?" And this guy would look at me like I was crazy, and I never understood why he looked at me like that. Because to me, it was just like, "You're a record store, why don't you have it?" You know what I mean? It wasn't until I'd actually gone to a suburb and was in a store at a suburb, and I was flipping through some albums, and I found a Kiss album. And I looked around, and I was like, okay, I got it. But I still didn't care. I took that thing home, man, and it was the most beautiful thing in the world to me to listen to this stuff. It was like really theatric. It was really over the top. And even though, as I look back on it, when I think of the lyrics now, I didn't know what they were singing about. I thought they were singing about superhero stuff, but they were really talking about drugs and sex. And I didn't see that at all. I just heard superhero stuff, So, but that's what kind of started it. And so I started going back to that store all the time, and I would go and just find albums if I liked the way the album cover looked. If I liked the name of the band, I never heard these people before. This is before the internet. I would just pick it up and try it. Some things were awesome. Some things kind of sucked. But it made me want to learn how to play guitar, and that's just kind of what kicked it all off. Starting with guitar and drums and keyboards and singing. But even during all that time, I'm still listening to Michael Jackson. I'm still listening to Anita Baker. I'm still listening to Sade and all that stuff. And just for me, it never mattered what the genre was. It just never mattered. And everybody else kind of makes a big deal of the whole black and white thing, and I get that. And if they really looked at the history of rock, they realized we created it anyway. They really looked at the history of rock. There's a really cool documentary called Afropunk that black folks should check out. We're deeper into rock than people really think we are.
Well, and the reason why I'm presenting that is I think it's very exciting to witness the world become so much more diverse and multicultural over such a very fast period of time. And what I mean by that is, when I was growing up, everything was so separated and segregated, and so music was categorized, people were categorized. And it's very exciting and interesting to see that the world shares rap. The world shares rock, and so that's why I want to just, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's put it out there on the table. There's nothing to, I think it's worth being celebrated. The fact that it is all about taste. It is all about preference, and it's not about color. But it's about, and it's really, frankly, and I guess the question became, is when you're raised a certain way, then there are tastes that one develops simply because they're raised that way. If we were both raised around sushi, we would be the biggest sushi fans ever. So it's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. So that's why, it's all about being real about what's happening in the world and the diversity that's taking place. And what's most important are the lyrics and your feeling that you had in regards to what propelled you to get involved in this particular video that we're speaking of. And I think that's awesome.
No, thank you. Are you talking about Lullaby and Amber, correct?
Yes.
Yes. That song is off our new CD. It's real personal for all four of us. My other guitar player, Junior Daves, our drummer, Kurt Meyer, and our bass player, Chris Harbin. We were all sitting down at rehearsal one day. And sometimes when we go to rehearsal, we don't actually rehearse. We really just talk shop, and we just connect. And it's really awesome. I've been in a lot of bands, but this is the first band I've ever been in that I really felt like I was at home. From the moment these guys, and I didn't even want to be in a band when I met them. The whole story behind that's a whole other thing. But we were all sitting down talking one day, and then it just turned out we all have daddy issues. Every last one of us, all four of us, and they're all white guys, So it's and we connected on that. And Junior and I were sitting down one day writing some music, and the main riff is something that I'd come up with a long time ago, and we just built off that riff, and it took us like the shortest period of time to come up with this whole song. Once we got the music put together, I went in and did the lyrics, and I wanted it to be like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. The song is really about a guy who's an alcoholic or whatever drug or vice of choice, and he's struggling with taking one more hit of whatever it is that he should not be taking. But he knows if he does this, that he's going to turn into this monster. And that's where the little boy comes in and all that, because his son is at home, wanting dad to come home, but dad is somewhere struggling with taking his drink. So the lyrics go back and forth between Mr. Hyde, who's telling this guy, you're going to do it anyway, and the guy himself going, I really don't want to, but I know I can't resist, kind of thing.
Wow, that's awesome.
Even with the guitar solos, usually Junior and I don't trade guitar solos, but in this one, we decided to do that because I solo very different than he does. So my solos are a little more, I don't want to say controlled, they're a little more easy or flowing, whereas his are very sonic. And he's a bad dude. He's a really bad dude. So between the two of us, it kind of ebbs and flows like water almost, And it's one of my favorite ones. It actually gives Chris Harbin, the bass player, when he hears it to this day, it still gives him goosebumps.
Wow. Well, you know what? Well, what we're going to do when we come back, we have to take a quick station break.
Sure.
But we want to find out, because, this is a business networking show. People are watching not only to purchase and download your music, and by the way, we're going to let them know where and how they can find it, but there are people who are watching you trying to understand and figure out what they want to do with their lives. So I have a very important question for you that perhaps you'd like to share with the audience when we come back. All right, everyone, you're watching Variety Talk live from Las Vegas. I am your host, Lady Linda. We're sitting in with Mr. Z himself. All right, happy Easter weekend to everyone, and we'll be right back.